So as you know, when we have a guest, Jamal and I fade out. So this is season 4, episode 160. My name is Brian Bacchus, and I'm out.
And I'm Jamal Smith. I also am out of here, but welcome. This is going to be a good show. Take care.
Thank you, Brian and Jamal. I believe, Jamal, you have the slides and you probably have them up and ready to go. If not, it would be great if you can get them up and ready because we'll be starting on that shortly. But good morning, everyone. Welcome to episode 160 of the AltadenaTalks podcast. And this is the Toni Talk segment. And today, my guest, and I'm super excited to have you here, is SUJEET Rao from USC. And you are here to discuss the USC Clean project. So thank you so much for coming on, agreeing. I just met Matt at an event on Saturday in Pasadena that I spoke at. And so I was heading out the door and he was like, wait, I need to talk to you. And we spoke and exchanged information. And I said, you want to come on my show Tuesday? Because I don't have anybody. And it would be great for people to get the information they need for the soil testing. So we finagled it. We got it together. I sent you guys the invites and you agreed and sent the slide deck. And so I'm super excited to have you on today. Can you introduce yourself more about who you are, what you do at USC, and then we'll begin to talk about this USC Clean project.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for inviting us, Toni. I think it's just really exciting to be here. My name is SUJEET Rao. As you mentioned, I'm the director of the health and well-being practice for a team at USC called Public Exchange. And I'll talk a little bit about what Public Exchange does. I think it kind of helps set the stage for the work that we're doing here. Public Exchange is a team that's built to build and manage collaborations between academic researchers at USC and external partners. Our overarching goal is to take academic expertise and research and maximize the social impact that can result from that expertise. We have a climate and sustainability team that does work in areas ranging from water conservation, nature-based solutions, shade, urban greening, and many more. And then we have a health and well-being team that I lead that works on issues like environmental health, food and nutrition insecurity, mental health, caregiving support, homelessness prevention, and many other issues as well. In that vein, in the winter, shortly after the fires, our team started collaborating with some researchers at USC in the Department of Earth Sciences. The names are Seth John, Josh West, and Sam Silva. And we both sort of came at this problem that we were observing, which is that once the fires were out and once the smoke had started to clear, people's questions and people's concerns sort of shifted from, immediate concern about the fires. And then in the immediate days thereafter, there was a lot of understandable and appropriate concern about air quality. And then all of a sudden, the focus was starting to shift towards, well, what goes up must come down. And so the question is, what is left in the soil? What is left in the water? What is left all around town? And do we have an ability to kind of test to understand what kind of contaminants are in that? And in that, we launched this project that we're calling Clean, which I'll talk more about the details of the project, but very quickly what it stands for Contaminant Level Evaluation and Analysis for Neighborhoods. Clean is the acronym. And it allows anyone in LA County to collect a soil sample or a dust sample or anything from either their home or a playground or a public park, wherever, and submit that sample for testing by scientists who are going to test the level of lead that may be present in the soil. It's completely free. It's available to everyone in LA County, not just those who live within the burn zones. And I'll talk more about why that's the case later. But that's kind of the upshot of what we're doing here. And really excited to talk about what we're doing and what we've learned so far.
Yeah, I'm super excited to hear more about it, to share it with our community, because a lot of people are just getting past the processing stage of losing everything. And I don't know how much you know about Altadena, but our community is 57% age 60 and above. And so we've got a lot of elders in their 90s and 80s and people in their 60s and 70s that might not like me calling them elders, but we've got a large population of that in Altadena. And yes, some have already decided to rebuild and they have their builders and they're, clearing lots. But I want to, as they do and the builders do and the community does, make sure that they have clean lots to build on,
Yes.
not lots that are contaminated with lead, because lead never leaves, right? And so if you have dirt that is full of lead or other particulates and things that can cause, cancers and respiratory issues and all this kind of stuff, that's not good. And so we need to make sure that people know that there is free testing for their soil. And like you said, they can bring dust, they can bring dirt, whatever, so that they can get it tested at no cost to them. And then through I don't know what else you do once you test, but you might even have either resources or referrals for them or something like that. And we will talk about that as we continue this conversation, but it's so very important. And I think that if people don't know it's available to them and don't know how to collect soil and then where to take it, they may just not do it. And we need to make sure that after the fire area and the burn area is cleaned, meaning all the debris is gone, that we do that next phase, because a lot of times Army Corps of Engineer test soil. This fire, they decided not to. And I think it had to do with budgetary or whatever Washington said or whatever, but the soil is not being tested this time by Army Corps. And so it's so important that you all, I think Pepperdine and UCLA or some others are doing some things as well. Some researchers from, I read an article, either Finland or somewhere, but so very important. And so I'm super glad that you all have come together and decided to do this for the communities. And because it's not obviously just Altadena, but we know what happened with Palisades and Malibu as well. There's Pasadena and Sierra Madre, other areas that are, in the San Gabriel Valley as well that were impacted. So I know you brought a slide presentation. Yeah. Do you want to start on that and start talking through that?
Let me say one more thing first, because I'm so glad you touched on the issue of the Army Corps. So ordinarily, as you mentioned, people who suffered a total loss or whose homes burned down, the federal authorities come in, cleanup authorities come in, they take away the debris, and then they do what is the phase 2 cleanup, where they scrape the top 6 inches of soil. Ordinarily and historically, what then happens is the federal authorities would test the soil that they just scraped to make sure that they know that everything is clear before they sort of give the all clear. For a number of reasons, in this case, I don't think we know all of them, but I think we can maybe guess some of them. That didn't happen, and that's not happening here. And so what that means is that there is a huge unmet need, especially in places that had total loss and had things scraped and cleaned up. But even in places that maybe didn't necessarily suffer physical damage downwind, but where the homes were still exposed to a lot of smoke and ash and things like that fell down in the soil, people have questions. And people have questions about what's in their soil. And everybody deserves to know what's in their backyard, right? It's pretty simple.
Absolutely.
And so that's really against we launched this project.
That's really good, because I had read articles about people who were in the burn zone who maybe their house didn't burn, but they have lots of smoke damage, the soot, all of this, but they did some soil testing and their soil was fine. But people downwind 2 miles in Pasadena, 1.5 miles in Pasadena, had the toxic soil or whatever came through the air that blew down there, and their soil now is testing bad. And so it is so strange that, well, it is strange, but it's not strange, because you think everywhere that burned, obviously their soil would have effects, but all the areas, and we don't know how far downwind, right? To the east, to the west, to the south, or whatever, if it's 1 mile, if it's 5 miles, if it's whatever, and you might have more, obviously we'll have more knowledge about that from previous studies, but how far does it go? So the fact that people even not in the burn zone, but very close to it downwind, or, something, cities next door or over, could also participate, because it's all LA County. And the crazy part is when, like, someone who maybe didn't live in Altadena or Pasadena, but lived in maybe Silver Lake, right? Silver Lake didn't burn, but they were getting wind from Altadena and wind from Palisades, Malibu. So they're kind of down here, stuck in the middle. And you just wonder what blew into them. They saw the smoke, they smelled it, they maybe put masks on, but did some of that toxicity that was blowing through the air land where they are, Eagle
Yeah.
Rock, Burbank, other areas. So it's super
Yeah,
great.
I mean, it's frankly, it's exactly the situation that my family was in. We live, not far we're in Glassell Park, which is downwind of Altadena, obviously, and it's not particularly close. You wouldn't think the actual fires, but what we actually had to evacuate because in the middle of the night, our house filled with smoke, and we had a small
Oh, wow.
down and smoke. He was coughing and couldn't sleep, and so we had to get up and evacuate. And we're lucky, we're very lucky, obviously, but we didn't suffer any damage to the property or anything like that. But we know that there are thousands and thousands of people like us who weren't directly impacted, but may still have questions. And so that is why this program is available to everybody. So I think that's a great segue. If we want to pull up the slides, I can talk a little bit more about what we're doing and what we've learned so far. So again, the project that we launched is called CLEAN, Contaminant Level Evaluation and Analysis for Neighborhoods. We can go to the next slide here. We're a very broad team. We are led by researchers in the USC Department of Earth Sciences. So professors Josh West, Seth John, Sam Silva, and Noel Held particularly have a broad range of expertise in metals and in earth sciences and in water and oceanography as well. And then Erica Garcia is a professor at the Keck School of Medicine who brings a public health lens perspective to this, because one of the things we are doing is, in addition to providing the level of lead that is present in the soil that we test, you may wonder, okay, that's great, but what do I do about it? And so we've been very careful and deliberate about providing simple, actionable interpretation guidance so that people can understand and know what to do next to keep their family safe. And as you mentioned that you met Max the other day, Max is our project manager who leads the work day to day and the overall lead from the public exchange team. And then our colleague Katie is our community engagement specialist as well, helping us coordinate all of our efforts out in the community. Next slide, please. Again, an overview of the project. Our goal is to very quickly evaluate and communicate the lead contamination levels in the soils all across LA County in the wake of January's fires. In eligibility, this is a free program, no cost. If anybody tells you that they're with us and they're trying to charge you, don't believe them. Our program is completely free of charge. We are grateful to be supported by the Fire Aid Fund. They gave us a grant that helps us really scale up the impact of that. And so they've been great partners. It is open to anyone in LA County. There are various other soil testing programs that are available, and we're working in concert and in collaboration with all of the teams that we know of very, very collaboratively. But our program is unique in that it's available to anyone. And that is important because, as we said, people who fall outside the burn zones maybe had some smoke and ash and may have questions, but they may not have other programs available to them that provide the testing services. And so we are doing that. How are we testing these samples? It's a method called X-ray fluorescence, XRF. We basically take the soil sample, we dry it, we sieve it so that it separates out the big particles from the smaller ones, and then you use this machine. It's almost like a price gun that you plug, and it analyzes the part of the soil that it's looking at and lets you know the level of lead found. It is fast, it is simple, and it is very reliable for lead. It is. Oh,
that's what I was going to ask you. Does it find anything else, or you're primarily looking for lead because that probably is the most toxic substance that you want people to know about?
Yeah, it's a great question. I'll say more about lead in a second, but very quickly, this method is very reliable for lead. It also can detect other metals and other substances, but it's not quite as reliable. And so we are really just using this method for lead. We are now starting to expand some of our analysis for some of the samples to do a different method. It's called ICP-MS, mass spectrometry. You may remember from chemistry class. And what that involves is a really more time-intensive, more resource-intensive, and more scientifically complicated process that tells you at much more detail sort of every metal and every chemical that may be present in a sample. But frankly, we find that it's not necessary in many cases because we know that lead is one of the most prevalent toxins, and it's also one of the more serious ones. And so if you know that there are elevated levels of lead in soil, you likely may want to take some action to keep you and your family safe, regardless of what else is in the soil. And in the process of taking those actions to mitigate the impact of lead, you are also mitigating the impact of any other contaminants that may be in there as well.
Got it.
So let's go to the next slide.
Great.
This is what I was mentioning. So why are we focused on lead? Why are we testing for lead? The first short answer is lead is bad. It is hazardous to health. It is particularly hazardous to young children and pregnant women, and it does not break down over time. I think we said up top, Tony, lead stays, and that is true. It's sort of a pesky heavy metal that stays in the soil for a long time. That said, it is important to know that the health risks that result from lead are exposure risks over time. So it's not the sort of case where, if there's a little bit of lead, or if there's a lot of lead in soil and you pick it up one day and then wash your hands a few minutes later, or even don't wash your hands, it is not likely that sort of one instance is likely to lead to sort of negative health outcomes. The risk really comes from prolonged exposure over time. And so that's why it's important to test and understand what levels of lead may be, so that people can take action to protect themselves and their children over time. Another reason,
if you've got small children, right, that are toddlers, infants, even in elementary school or whatever, it may seem okay now, but if there's lead there, then by the time they're teens or adults, they may have some of those diseases that are lead-based, or or something that respiratory or whatever else.
Yeah, it's lead is known to be a neurotoxin, and so it has potential effects on cognitive development and things like that. And so it is definitely something that we take seriously, especially for young children. And again, it's important to think about, how does lead come into the body, right? So you may imagine there's lead in the soil outside. Maybe a young child like my son is playing around in the dirt and his hands get dirty. Maybe if he's like my son, he's putting his hands in his mouth all the time. And maybe that's some of that soil. Maybe there's some lead in the soil. Some of that lead then gets absorbed by his body and gets stored in the cells. And that's where the sort of damage can result. It's a little bit different than you think of, like breathing in smoke, right? It's not necessarily the case where it's kind of in the atmosphere and we need to worry about that. It's really the ingesting of it or having it in your skin so that it works its way into your bloodstream where the challenges emerge. Another reason why we're focused on it is we know that one of the most common sources of lead in America is old paint and old pipe. And when you're in a neighborhood that has older homes, lead used to be a standard ingredient in paint.
It was.
Gasoline, it used to be a standard ingredient in plumbing. And because of those things, when you have older homes, we know that the levels of lead tend to be a little bit higher. Our data has shown that. We'll talk about that in a second. And then, as I mentioned, because it's something to take seriously, we know that soil lead testing results can help people make informed decisions about keeping themselves healthy and safe as they rebuild, as they move back to homes and things like that. And so that's one of the main reasons why we're focused on lead.
Perfect.
So how does our project work? I'll talk a little bit about it. It's very simple. You can visit our website. The URL is on the screen here. You go to the website, you sign up, you fill out a survey that asks you some basic information about the property where you're going to be collecting the sample. We have a video that you can watch, or we have a written guide that tells you how to collect the sample, but it's very simple. You basically wear gloves and get a Ziploc bag and scoop a few spoonfuls of soil into a bag. When you fill out the survey, you will get a unique 9-digit code. You write that code on the bag, and then you drop it off at drop boxes that we've set up all over the county. We've got a couple in the greater Altadena, Pasadena area. I'll talk about that in a second. Or you can mail it to us if you're farther away. You can send it to our lab. Our team will then process it. It takes a few weeks for us to process the results, and then we'll circle back and send you an email when the results are ready. I'll talk about that.
Nice.
Yeah. We'll go to the next slide. This is a map that shows you all the drop boxes that we have. So we have some near the Palisades and the American Legion out there, Marina Del Rey Library out west. Of course, you can mail it in to our campus. I'm sort of moving left to right in the image here. We have a drop box set up at the Boyle Heights City Hall for those of us that are closer to downtown or on the east side. And then in and around Altadena, we have a drop box set up at Grocery Outlet in Altadena and the Pasadena First AME Church. If you go to our website, you have the addresses and much more information, hours for all of these as well. But you can just go in and drop the box off. So what do we then send you? So our team in the lab will process the samples using that XRF method I mentioned. It returns a number for the amount of lead in parts per million, or you may see it expressed as milligrams per kilogram. Same thing. What we do is we send you an email and says, hey, you've submitted a sample. Your results are ready. You can log in and you look at this spreadsheet that we've posted online. You look up your 9-digit code and it'll tell you the level of lead that we found. Attached to that email, we include this guide that I mentioned, which is a very simple interpretation guide that helps you understand, okay, great, my sample came back at 55 parts per million. Is that good? Is that bad? What does it mean? We give you some guidance about what that means. A couple numbers to keep in mind. The state of California has set a safety screening threshold for lead of 80 parts per million in residential soil. So what that means, 80.
Oh, 80. Okay, so anything below 80 is good, meaning you don't have that much. Anything above that, and the higher numbers like the 578, 136, 141 are no good. And then you would tell us,
take action.
Yeah, perfect.
Exactly. So we'll talk about what that means in a second. We can go to the next slide. This gives you on our website, we link you to a map that shows you kind of all of the results. You can't quite zoom in to the level of someone's address, but it gives you a visual sense of how many samples we've received and what the patterns are. You can see here we have samples from all over, but most of them, about 3/4 of them, have come from around the Eaton Fire, Altadena, Pasadena area as well.
Yeah.
So this gives you a screenshot. We have processed so far about 3,000 results as of this week. We expect to be receiving many more. I'll pause there for a second and just say, in the first few weeks and months that we started this project back in March, we received a lot of samples because there was a lot of curiosity. And I think the people who were most interested and were following this issue most closely were very eager to collect and submit samples. I'm really excited to be talking to you today because we have a lot more. We want a lot more samples.
Good.
We encourage you to continue to collect samples and submit them. We're going to be planning some events in the coming weeks, and so stay tuned for more. You may even see
we have a couple of events coming up, which will be, public out at like a park in Altadena, October, November. So maybe we can partner with you and you all can have a booth and be able to collect some or tell people about collecting or whatever. So you and I will talk offline about that. I think it's great that, you're already have some things coming up, and the more we get this information out to the community so that they can test, as now people are like, okay, everything's cleared. I've processed enough to say I'm going to rebuild, and I'm talking to builders, or I have one. So I want to make sure my lot is good before we start to build. So I think that this is perfect timing almost for you to be on the show and really be talking about this.
Well, I'm very glad for that. Let's keep going. I can talk a little bit more about what we
I have one question. Even with that, and don't change back, Jamal. Thank you. Even with either one of these slides, like the LA County has had maps that people can go and they're interactive and we can see. Obviously, these are slides for the presentation, but is there a link somewhere that we could give to the audience or whomever and say, look, this is where you can go to look at the clean project results for Eaton, and they can zoom in to see where these streets are?
Yes. This map, of which these are just screenshots, the dynamic version that you can zoom in and out and double click on wherever you may be interested. And it's all available on our website. So that's all at the bottom of the screen right now. Folks can visit that site. And then if you scroll down a little bit, there'll be a link that says view our interactive map.
Perfect.
On that, and you can see all of these results here.
Excellent. Thank you.
So this just gives you a sense of a little bit more zoomed in on the Eaton Fire area of where a lot of our samples have come from. Again, we've collected about 3,000 and tested about 3,000 samples overall. I think that makes us the largest soil testing program around, or certainly among the largest. So we're very proud of that. We can go to the next slide and talk a little bit more about what we found. So I will say the bottom line is that in general, the levels of lead are lower than we feared they may have been. That is great news. Overall, of the sort of 3,000 samples that we have tested and collected and tested, 58% of them are below the state screening threshold of 80 ppm. So that's great news. That means that
that's really good.
Those soils are generally considered safe.
Good.
So about 42% of them are above that screening threshold. So let's take a closer look at those. 32%, let's stay on this slide for a second. So 32% of them are between 80 and 200 parts per million. The reason 200 is a meaningful number is that is the Federal Environmental Protection Agency. That's the EPA screening threshold. Now, again, the state of California has set a much lower threshold because they're very concerned about that, and I think that's good. But just for reference, it helps to know, well, what percentage of these samples are very high and which ones are just kind of high, to use an unscientific term. So that's about 32%. Only about 10% of the samples that we have collected and tested have been above 200. And those are the samples that you really want to focus on to make sure that you are taking some remediation and taking some action to keep people safe. When you're above 1,000 parts per million, it's considered hazardous waste. Very, very few samples were at that level. And that is
good.
Only
That's really good.
3,000. Now we can go to the next slide.
I have a quick question about that last part. For those that were found there, even though there was a few, were they in a concentrated area, or was it dispersed, amongst a large area?
Great question. There's no obvious pattern to them, except that the super high ones tended to be samples that were from places that were like actual burn scars. So like the footprint of a home that burned down, or an actual sort of pile of ash or things like that, rather than soil, at the edge of the property or downwind or things like that. But because there's so few of them, it's hard to really draw broad patterns. But I would say anecdotally, that's generally what we found, which again is good.
Thank you.
Yeah. Let's go to the next slide. I'll talk a little bit more about the samples from in and around the Eaton fire. So there, generally the lead levels are a little bit higher in the Eaton fire than they are in the Palisades. And that is because we think it's because the housing stock just tends to be a little bit older. So 50% of the samples were below the state screening threshold in and around the Eaton fire. 38% of them were between 80 and 200. And then again, only about 10% were above 200. So the patterns are generally the same. And again, generally reassuring, but also there's no obvious pattern we found to whether a particular property or whether a particular home had low or high levels of lead. And what that means is that's why it's so important that people test. Because you might have soil that is perfectly safe and someone across the street from you might have lead levels that are much higher. And so it's important for you to understand what the situation is in your home or in your playground or wherever. And that's why the program is so important. Let's go to the next slide.
I'm really happy that on both 1% and 0.5% were over that 1,000, right? Because
we were really pleased to see that.
Yeah, like we don't want 20% or something like that. So that's really good.
Yeah, it's reassuring. I think there's, like you said, there's a lot of different types of information that's flying around right now, and people are understandably concerned. Some people are scared, and information can be powerful, and so that's why it's very important that people seek and receive clear information. Overall, the recommendations that we sort of leave people with is number one, get your soil tested. We have a free program. There's another that the county Department of Public Health is offering for those that are sort of immediately downwind. If you visit the county Department of Health website, Department of Public Health website, you can find more information about that. Again, we're collaborating very closely with them. So if you're not eligible for that program, or even if you just want to submit a sample to us as well, we encourage you to do that. If you do find that there are elevated levels of lead, or you believe there could be, even while you're waiting for your results, limit access to those areas. Again, the risk comes from exposure to it, and exposure comes from physical proximity, physical touch, having it on your skin and not washing it off, ingesting it, things like that. Relatedly, we recommend that people avoid bringing contaminated or potentially contaminated soil indoors. So that means wiping your feet, maybe you leave your shoes at the door. Wash your hands. Maybe you leave a package of wipes by the door so that you can, if you have a cane or anything, you can wipe the bottom of a cane, things like that. And then if you do receive a result that has some elevated lead levels, you may want to consider talking to an industrial hygienist or a lead abatement contractor. There are providers that are available on the county Department of Health, Public Health website that are sort of certified providers. that can help you with that. And then also there are free programs to get your blood tested for the lead level. Because again, if you follow the chain of what can create health problems, lead exists in the soil, a small child or a pregnant woman or somebody else who is vulnerable comes in contact with it, it gets absorbed through their skin or ingested, it gets absorbed by their body. Then if you test their blood, it will indicate whether there are elevated levels there. And there are free programs available from the county or through your health insurance or Quest Labs where you can get the blood level tested. I will say the county has actually done a lot of blood testing so far. And so far the news has been very good. Very few people have had elevated levels. And again, that's very good news.
Yeah, that's very good news.
So I'll pause there. I mean, happy to talk more about anything. That's the end of the slides.
I do have a question.
Yeah, please.
So for those that, because I saw on that slide, you said something about, avoid bringing it in the house and don't let kids play in it and this and that. And we know if you've got between, I think 5 and maybe 10 or something, right, that kids are going to go outside. Sometimes you may not be able to stop them. They may have sandals on. They may have whatever on. So for those whose homes didn't burn, right, I think it's so important that they, like imperative, go sample your soil, take it down to grocery outlet on Lake and find out what your results are, because how can they mitigate? Like, we still live here. We had smoke damage. That's been remediated so we can move back in. We're back in now. Our kids are outside playing like they normally were. We're not necessarily out watching them, and they might play. I mean, we used to make mud pies, right? And eat the dirt growing up there and all this. And God only knows what was in it at that point. But I think it's so important, like I said, imperative that people understand this and know, like, what do you do if you are still in that area besides getting it tested, or you do get it tested and you're in that 80 to 200? What can you tell people today while we're live about that?
So the first thing I would say is, like, do the best you can, right? Like, we all live in the real world. We know that things get fuzzy. And so you're not going to be able to prevent a small child from putting some dirt in their mouth. And that's okay, right? I think it's okay. Contaminants that are in the soil, lead in particular, they are serious, and you want to do everything you can to limit exposure. But if a small child eats a handful of dirt one day, it's okay. There are things that you can do to prevent bad things from happening to your child. It is not the sort of thing where it's, like swallowing bleach or something that is particularly
right. They might kill you in the next few days, right?
Yeah, danger happens over time. So you can take action to limit the ability of any lead that may be in the soil to enter the child's bloodstream or body, and that's washing their hands when they come back inside, being mindful, if they're old enough, telling them, make sure you're not eating dirt, things like that. Those are effective. Those are simple. And then if the levels are higher, there are, relatively accessible ways that you can mitigate what's in the soil. If the levels are quite high, you might have to hire someone to dig up soil and replace it with fresh, clean soil. But also, you may be able to just put some fabric down and then put fresh soil and mulch on top of it to kind of limit the exposure that people have. You may be able to plant some plants that can kind of soak up some of the metals over time and then safely dispose of those plants, a year later or something, and it kind of absorb that. And then in the meantime, you're being a little more mindful about making sure hands are washed in certain areas. The other thing is, not all areas of your yard or of a home are the same. So test soil, like in your crawl space under the foundation of your house, and you find that the level of lead is high. I mean, that's of concern, but how often are children and pets and elderly people crawling around in there and getting dirt on their hands and then putting it in their mouth? Probably not that often. And so I don't think you need to spend that much energy on that. Whereas if you test your front yard or if you test your garden where people are constantly kind of digging around and spending time, and you find that those levels are high, that is an area that you want to take you want to be much more aggressive in how you're kind of approaching that and taking remedial action.
Yeah, I know that I went over to the Altadena Gardens and spoke with them because they were reopening, they were doing some mitigation, and they had this mushroom. They told me, they said, you can just call it mushroom poop. But, after mushrooms are planted and harvested, what's left over, they call it mushroom poop. And they said if you can get a hold of that, you can put that in your soil, because it literally, just like you said with the plants, it pulls the lead and all the toxins out. Yeah. So I know that there are people that have gardens at home. Altadena, there's plenty of people that have chickens and, all kind of stuff. So I would say Google for the information. I'm not going to ask Sujeet to say, where do you get it? But Google, or whatever browser you use, right? I'm not endorsing Google. Whatever browser you use, search. I'll say search, right? I'll say search for what can you do to remediate your soil post a fire, right? If you got back results because you've taken it to grocery outlet, dropped it off, and you find out you're in that 80 to 200 range, right? That we know 50% of the people that have given these soils out of the 2,900 are at the 80 or less. So they're considered safe. But if you're higher than that 80, find out and do that. That fabric that you said, that black weed fabric, I know I have a garden, and even before I put that down, like when I was building my beds, I put, mulch and sticks and some rocks because you need drainage. Then I put cardboard, because cardboard is good to keep things away from underneath, rodents and different things. And I put chicken wire. Yeah. And then the black fabric goes down, and then the dirt, right? So I have like layers, because I've learned in the past few years, you have to layer stuff properly in order for your garden to be very successful. So there are things you can do to help remediate your soil and mitigate any of that, like you said, toxins from coming up and being there. So kids, that if they are outside playing, or if you are gardening again, so that you don't have all that exposure. So thank you for sharing that.
The only thing I would add to that, Toni, is yes, people should search for it, but also, unfortunately, we need to be smart consumers. And so that means doing some research. And also, when you're talking to someone or you hear from someone, ask them for the evidence and the science that they have that the method is effective. Because I do think that there are many different ways that you can remediate soil or pull out contaminants that are in that, but some of them are a little bit more proven than others. And so when you hear of something that's maybe like a little more, sounds like science fiction or something, like ask, it doesn't mean it doesn't work. Actually, I think the method you talked about, for example, with like using compost and mushrooms, can be very effective. Planting plants that soak up metals and then disposing of the plants can be very effective. But you definitely want to ask for information from somebody that is offering these services to make sure that they can explain to you the science behind what it is, and evidence that they have that it works, and examples that they've done it before, things like that.
You're right. Just don't go willy-nilly and figuring it out on your own, or trusting your browser search that that's everything. And one good place to check with people is the Altadena Garden, because they know what they're doing. And the reason I went over there was because I heard they were reopening, and my father was the co-founder of it back in the 70s. And so I wanted, when they reopened, him to be able to be there and all that. And so it was just like a soft, they haven't fully reopened yet, but I think this weekend or something, they're going to be interviewing him or talking to him. But, and that's when I learned about those mushrooms and the mushroom compost, or as they call it, mushroom poop. And I forgot what the actual name is, but definitely figure it out and go. I know that you were supposed to hard stop at 10:30. We are at 10:40. And so
this is a worthy use of.
Okay, good. I want to just make sure that we're good, and that if I don't know if any questions popped up. I know Brian and Jamal are popping things on the screen. I did see a couple of comments. If we could get the comments back up there. So Stogieman says, thanks. This is very good information. I too am thankful that the lead levels are as low as they are. I am too, because that was a concern for all of us, right? And especially for someone that's going to rebuild, like, okay, now do I have to take all the dirt out and bring more dirt in? And how expensive is that? That kind of stuff. And Marcus says, thanks for the information and for the important work you're doing for Altadena, which we all definitely thank USC's Clean Project, and the fact that, so many people were upset that they thought from fire aid they were going to get money directly in their hand to rebuild their house, and didn't understand how nonprofits work, and that it has to go from one to another nonprofit or to an organization that is doing. So the fact that you received a grant from fire aid, hopefully enough people see this that understand now that you're dropping off your soil at grocery outlet, that's where some of that money is going, because for the researchers to do it and for the machines and everything to process it and then get those reports to you costs money. And so it's a free service to them because of the grant that was given to USC for this. And I'm super thankful for that. So, we keep hearing no money and it's been squandered away and all this. And I keep telling people that's not true. It went to nonprofits or other orgs that are still giving back to the community, whether it's in kind or gift cards or whatever. But this right here is huge, right? And so super thankful that Fire Aid did give you guys the USC a grant, and that you all are so diligent in making sure that our community is clean.
Appreciate that. The other thing I'll say is we're just getting started. So we have tested 3,000 samples. We've collected 3,000 samples, but we're not going anywhere. We're going to be here for at least through the year, probably for another year beyond that. And so we just encourage folks, we know that there's a lot of steps and a lot of things that people have to go through and a lot of boxes they got to check as they're working their way and rebuilding. And so, before they're moving back in or when they're back in their home, we encourage them to go out, collect a sample, drop it off. Again, we'll be having some events in the coming weeks, so we're going to try to make it as easy as possible for folks to participate. And please reach out. If anyone has questions or concerns or ideas, you can visit our website. We got an email address there. Reach out, be in touch. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, I'm going to put this, Brian. You could do what your magic is. This is the one for the direct website. Obviously, people can just find it or go to that QR code. But in our private chat, I just put it, and they can put it. But also this one that they've popped up a few times that says AltadenaTalks, this one. That's the interactive map. I was on the website earlier, so I went and scrolled down and found it. So this particular URL, the AltadenaTalks.org, ARCGIS/ARCGIS, that's for that interactive map that I asked Sujeet about and said, hey, is there a place people can actually go in and kind of drill down? And so when you said it, I went there, and that shows a little bit better area of, where in Altadena, based on the streets, it is. Now, when I try to drill all the way down, Sujeet, just to let you know, and whoever built the map, you might want to let them know, it stops showing where the triangles are. Once I can get more granular to see the streets really well, it does not, the triangles go away. So I have to...
We did that on purpose to protect people's privacy.
Oh, okay. So this is a general area of where the stuff is.
Good sense of where things are, but you can't zoom down to see, I wonder what my neighbor's lead level is or anything like that. So,
okay.
Hey, Sujeet, I have a question, kind of back to what you were talking about in terms of the amount of time that you're going to be around and doing the testing. What is the overall goal? Is it based on the amount of money you guys have, and when that runs out, then you'll stop, or were you trying to get a key number of
it's a good question.
Soil tests?
The real answer doesn't have a specific number, which is our overall goal is to meet the demand. So as many people out there as want and need information, we want to be able to provide that. Again, we're collaborating with other teams. There's a team at UCLA. The project is called CAP LA. They are going out to people's homes and collecting lots of samples in homes that actually burned or that had lots of damage. So it's a smaller footprint, but it's much more in-depth sample collecting by scientists. We're collaborating with them. Our program is very complementary to that. We can, 10,000 samples. We've got about 3,000. We think we can support many, many more. So we encourage people to collect them and submit them. And again, they don't have to do it right now. We're going to be here for a while. So it's just something to add to the to-do list. We know that people are dealing with a lot. So it's an important item on the list, but we're not going anywhere.
No, I'm glad to hear that. So the collaborative groups that are doing the other work, for example, UCLA, is their information represented in your slides, or do they have a separate way that they're sharing that?
It's not. Yeah, it's not in our slides, but it is on their website. And so if you were to look for the CAP LA, it's called CAP.LA. They have a lot of really wonderful information on their website. And again, we're collaborating very closely with them. Our methods are very similar. We're sharing data and sharing information. and we're actually
great.
partnered. We're partnered with them and with others as well to try to scale up this project even more. So we have funding that's going to allow us to reach a lot of people, but to reach truly everybody that we think needs help, we're going to need more support. And so we're all collaborating on an idea of how we could do that.
And just curious, and I'm sure it's probably similar results, but do you guys talk to one another about the results and compare and contrast? Okay, so is it?
Yeah, that's what he said.
Absolutely.
They're collaborating together. Yeah.
Yeah, we're sharing our data and our results with each other. And as you mentioned, the levels that they are finding are very, very similar to what we are finding, which is reassuring.
Thank you.
There are some variations. Like if you take two samples in one property, one's from over here, one's from over there, there might be some variations. It's understandable, right? Like you're trying to get a general sense of, do I need to take further action to keep people safe? Or is this generally likely to be safe? And, you know, it's important to like zoom out and look at the overall ranges and numbers. There's an important, if your level is, you know, 250 versus 50 right next to each other, then maybe something wonky is going on, but there is some variation that's going to be expected across a property.
Perfect. That makes sense. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. Toni, let's do this again, maybe in person next time.
Yeah, we can do that too, Sujeet. We have an office in Pasadena, or I can come to you, whatever, but would love that. I actually have to be at USC Thursday because I'm speaking to some doctoral candidates and all that about community and what we're doing in Altadena. So I will be on campus on Thursday, but definitely want to meet you. Definitely want to do this again. Would love for you to come back when you have new data and more numbers. Hopefully this encourages people to get more samples, to get you some of the, so you have more data and more samples. But super thankful to Max and you for making this happen. People are saying great show, and thank you, Sujeet. So this is amazing, and definitely look forward to bringing you back on soon and partnering with you. We'll talk offline, but we'll definitely be doing something together in the coming months. All right. Thank you so much again for the extended time. All right. Have a great day. Take care. Great. Brian and Jamal, I would click and bring you on stage, but okay, you're ready. I was going to say, I don't know if you're ready. Sometimes in the background, you're not necessarily ready to come back on the stage. But today you are. Brian? Thank you. You're on mute. I believe you're on mute. You're talking with no sound.
He's either underwater.
But look, he's not underwater and he's clear today.
Yeah.
Do you know how much work I was doing right now?
I do.
So if I came into the screen and I was blank, I was still darting my eyes around the 4 screens in here. I got my phone right here. I got the other phone right here. I got 3 screens right here. I got 2 Instagrams and a partridge in a pear tree.
And let me just say this. This show went so smooth, and I'm talking about you two in the background working your magic.
It's way better that way.
So yeah, I know it. And so anybody watching, they come on in the beginning, we do our quick introduction, they're like, bye. Within seconds, they drop off anytime I have the guest on, so we can hopefully have the full hour or as much time as possible. Sujeet originally said he needed to drop off at 10:30, but he stayed on long enough to really get through it. But the fact is, if Brian and Jamal were not in the background working their magic, baby, it would be a hot mess. If I ever had to do it by myself with a guest, it probably would not happen.
We all have tried that. Remember, we've all done it by ourselves. It's really hard because
I'm going to tell you what. If I had to, I'm coming on and I'm saying, hello, you all, and have a great week from AltadenaTalks, because the guys are not on with me. So there will be no show today. Toodles. I promise you guys.
That's how you would do it. Yeah, yes, that would be the most viewed one as well, because it'd be like a minute. It'd be basically a story.
It'd be in and out because I would not be able to do it. Marcus said great show. Thank you, Marcus. Appreciate that. Stogyman said thank you, Sujeet. And then Marcus said, wow, this is a show I'll be watching again. Thanks, Toni ATP, for amazing guests on the show. Absolutely. You know, I I really, really try to get good people on here that can give us the accurate. Oh, you're taking a picture of what the office is.
You're going to share what this whole setup looks like.
What
so
he's
you guys
doing.
can see what's really going on.
But
you think this is easy? It is not.
It's not. And thus why the people at Fire Aid recognized we needed to keep this on the air, and that everything that we do costs, because it does. Everything we do, the office, the setup, the StreamYard, everything cost us. So we now have that grant to cover that for a couple of years. But I always have to give kudos, big props and thanks to Jamal and Brian. Jamal's back there running slides, going in and out. Brian's doing a bunch of stuff, bringing stuff in and out, and it makes it just so seamless. And we are on episode 160, but we have grown. We're growing in viewership. I have a couple people, one emailed me this morning, one yesterday, that want to come on the show, organizations. And we're getting more viewers, and it's because we are becoming more and more professional. Yes, we still have our shenanigan days and all of that, but part of that professionalism is these gentlemen being in the background when I have guests on and really making it smooth. So kisses, love you all. Both of you, thank you so much for what you do when I'm trying to talk to
it's
folks.
a team. You're welcome, but yes, it is a team effort.
Yeah.
I went back and looked at Jamal before you came on, which was basically a week after we started. I went back and looked at how we were running the show, and I had the Vegas background because I had PTSD. I didn't want to put nothing out to Dina. And I was really animated because Jamal was running the show. I was just really just all up in the camera. I was hot. I was mad. And all this stuff. I was like going off on people, and you know, it was just a lot. But then I kind of dialed it back. And then Toni, you brought the, what do you call this? The governance to the show.
Because I'm so serious all the time.
Right. But we still pull it out of you. I can't see right now.
You do help pull the shenanigans out, yes.
But you know, I'm more of a animated color commentary type dude. So I'm like more of a smack talker on. You got it. Okay, good. Because I didn't feel like dealing with all that. So this video is just to show you what it looks like behind the scenes when we're actually doing stuff. So, and I'm saying that again as well, so you can actually mute.
And that's just where Brian is. That's not where Jamal is. Yeah.
So yeah, this is this is what it looks like. I got my phone right here on the left. I got 3 screens. I got 2 Instagram channels on the right screen. I got YouTube and Facebook on the top screen, and I got the showrunner on the laptop. So it's not like we just put a camera right there and go, hi, today we're going to be talking with SUJEET about soil testing. This doesn't work that way. So for those of you that think that this is hard, this is easy, go ahead and do it. We encourage you. That's why no one else has done it. You know, I know a lot of people want to start a podcast, but they don't know the first thing about what's going to happen when they do start it. So, yes, it's hard work, but we enjoy it. That's the thing. It's hard work, but I love it. I mean, I wouldn't want to do anything else. And the extra part is when we announce these events, we actually show up to them and then bring the information back to you so that in case you weren't able to make it, though we've announced it 5 days a week, we're still going to bring it to you. So shout out to Altadena Dining Club and Altadena Restaurant Crawl, Altadena CLT Work Group, Brandon. Brandon is like when he's able to be here, he's back at work now, but whenever he's able to be here, he's always right there taking care of business. Special shout out to Marcus.
Marcus is pumping us up today. Thank you, Marcus. Well, Machine Next Level.
He's right. The longest running podcast talking about. I haven't said that in so long because it's gotten busier, you know. So I kind of like dialed back my jokative nature because now it's like never really had this many people popping up, and I'm not gonna copy and paste.
It was bound to happen.
And Tanya Owens is calling me right now, and we're on the live podcast, Tanya. So I'm putting you on blast at 10:56.
What's up, T.O.?
I'm gonna put her on. She hung up because I was about to put her on. We have a caller calling in.
Yeah, she might be watching and was like, "Oh, he's putting me on blast. Let me."
I was gonna pull her in.
We really appreciate your support, and not only your support watching, but on Facebook, on IG, and especially on YouTube. If you could go to our YouTube channel at AltadenaTalks and like and subscribe to us, because we do want to increase our viewership. Also, if you have TikTok, please go on TikTok and like and subscribe. On Facebook, on IG, it's going to help because the more viewership we get, we're not worried about the monetization. If we get any funds from it, it's going into the foundation, which is going to come back to the community. But it helps the community have what they need, which is the information, which is us bringing people on. Oh, Brandon, we miss you too.
When you get a break, you just get.
She's like, dang, I gotta be here with these dang kids. Like,
winter break, you come back. Thanksgiving break. Matter of fact, Brandon, because we're doing an event for Thanksgiving for a day of thanks. So I keep talking about it, everybody. I'm gonna just say this: we have a couple of events coming up. September, October, and November, we're doing 3 things. The AltadenaTalks Foundation, which is linked to our podcast. Oh, thank you, Miss Bacchus, for pausing your Tubi movie to watch the program. We done blew Tubi away. Yay! I love that she put that, Brian.
Oh, that's my God. That's my mom for you. I had to stop watching the ratchetness to come watch something more meaningful.
I love that. I know my mom watches. We appreciate that support. Everybody that supports, we really appreciate it. But in September, what's the date, Brian? You got the 25th, the 27th?
So the 27th, and I wanted to actually, I didn't discuss this with you all, but I wanted to extend the invite to the Altadena Restaurant Crawl and the Altadena Dining Club because they have the voice of the diners. We're planning a day at Steak Corral in Whittier. Now, for those of you all that don't remember,
a few hours, not a day.
It might turn into a day. It might turn with these two joining. It might turn into a day. Trust me. But if you guys don't remember the location where Chick-fil-A is now. Before that, it was before that, it was Carl's Jr., but before that, it was Steak Corral. So to me, Steak Corral was like Black Angus Jr. It had the ambiance of it, but had the prices of reasonability. So
thought you said Black Angus Jr. It's
Black Angus Jr. I mean, because I was like, Steak Corral Senior. That's what I looked at. Huh?
It sure wasn't Fleming's or Maestro's.
Oh no. I said Black Angus because.
But for those that grew up in Altadena and Pasadena like we did, that remember when it was Steak Corral, we've been talking about this for a minute, and we talk about it on Way Back Wednesdays, and we really want to bring the community back together. So the fact that we're talking about it now, and yes, the Altadena, what is it, Dining Crawl or whatever, Restaurant Crawl,
Altadena Restaurant Crawl, and Altadena Dining Club.
Perfect.
You got that bad or whatever.
So we will have more detailed information for you next week or later this week. I'm going to do the flyer. I'm working on that. But Brian and I talked on the phone yesterday, and he actually talked to the owner, who's been the owner, did you say 50 plus years?
For 50 years. So we've been going. So let me just say this. My mom is on here, so this is really significant. So my mom, when they used to get paid every Friday, they would take us to Steak Corral. I thought it was hot stuff, right?
We did too when we went.
Okay. So when I turned 13, my mom finally said, okay, you're old enough to have a steak now. So I looked at my brother and sister and said, ha, I get a steak. You guys still have to deal with the burger with the gravy on it, okay? So.
What was that, Salisbury steak?
Yeah, well, it was burger. They didn't give us that. They got a hamburger with some gravy on top with some onions.
That's
So,
it.
Mom, yes, it was a level. No, it was actually a level down from Sizzler. It's a level down from Sizzler. Change. Yeah, no, Sizzler's a little bit up there, but Steak Corral. Steak Corral was like a nostalgic place. It had the chuck wagon. It's got the cowboy in the front
Still do.
And in fact, that whole street, when we do this, that whole street is nostalgia. You'll see an old McDonald's from back in the day. Pick and Save is still out there. Not Big Lots, Pick and Save.
Yeah, it was Pick and Save before Big Lots.
Exactly. So there's a whole lot of nostalgia on that street, and it's right off the 605. It's probably 20 minutes from Altadena or Pasadena.
So
but
we're going to create this flyer. We are going to have a QR code or whatever so that you can, if you, James Farter, want to say level up.
No, I said it's a level down.
And he said, yeah, oh, okay. But if you want to participate, depending on the response, it can seat 115. Mm-hmm. Depending on the response that we get for people that sign up with the QR code, we're not charging you, obviously. This is simply so we have numbers. We may do, Brand suggested this yesterday, 2 seatings, meaning like we may say from 2 to 4 or 2 to 3:30 and then 4 to 6 or something like that if we wind up having over 200 people. And you go at either time, but we're going to put a QR code out there. If it gets full with the 115, we'll do a second seating on that day, but we're looking at September 27th-ish. It's 7th, yeah. Then October 25th, we're looking at, and I will know next Wednesday, so I'll be able to confirm that on the 4th of September. We are having a barbecue event, a barbecue cook-off. We have plenty of queuers from Dina that we are going to invite, and there will be a couple others, maybe from LA or whatever. But we will have a QR code for that event in October. And these are things that bring the community together. Save your dollars because we're not going to charge for it, but we need you to register so that we know and can tell those that are going to barbecue how many to expect. We're anticipating it being up at Loma Alta, so that when we do this, if we're going to have 1,000 people, then they bring enough food because they are going to sell their barbecue. Okay. So that's why we always say we need people to register so they can sell their barbecue. You can buy it directly from them. We hope to have like some music, going a stage with jazz or whatever. And then November 22nd, we have this already confirmed at Loma Alta Park. We're doing a day of thanks. In collaboration with the county, they will have the Harvest Fest for the children. There will be some baseball games going on, but in the large gym, and because they call it Upper Loma and Lower Loma, the 2 parks, how they split. We are going to feed the community. We likely will have 2 seatings of 400 people each. That event will be from about 10 to 4. So the seatings may start at 12 to 1:30 and then 2 to 3:30, something like that. But we are going to do a day of thanks. We hope to have lots of vendors there and maybe some gift card giveaways and things like that to the community as well. So we will get all those flyers out in the next week or 2 for certain. They will be part of our announcements, but we really look forward to meeting a lot of the people that follow us and that support us by watching and hugging on some people for certain over the next few months. So we have September and October and November, some events that we're going to be doing.
And I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited. Now, if you're an Altadena resident with proof of Altadena residency, you will not have to pay for this event in November at all. It's going to be open to your family. Toni told me don't put a cap on it because I was going to put a cap. Don't put a cap on it.
Look, no, this is what he did last week, y'all. He made this whole little thing because his brain doesn't stop. He's super fast and his brain doesn't stop, which is super dope. But he was like, they can have 4. I was like, a family, they can have 4. What if they got 8 people in their family? So that's why we're probably going to have 2 seatings Because he was literally gonna put a cap and tell y'all you can have a family of 4. And I was
Well,
like,
I forgot that this is Altadena, and they got the grandmama, the mom, and the
hello.
aunt,
So no, we're not doing that.
Uncle
Me and
Bob
Brian
that lives next door, and So the Betts family, I can't put a cap on it. That's a done
Hello.
deal.
That's like 80 people right there. So and the bins.
Between them two, we don't have to worry about anybody coming.
Right. That'll take up one whole seating, those two families. No, we're just joking. But the fact is we do want to extend this to as much of Altadena as we can. And when you register, if you don't register, you will not get in that day. It's not like you can just come up and get in. You will have to register. Right. There will be a QR code. There will be where you have to register. And you will have to provide proof of being an Altadena resident, okay, prior to the fire. So we're going to make it so that this is Altadena people, because we have seen plenty of times where people have said, oh, come and get, hey, this is for the community, and a whole lot of outsiders come.
Exactly. I noticed that from the first town hall. There were 300 people at the first town hall that was held at the New Revelation. The next day, there was a Dodger giveaway at Jack Robinson Park. 2,000 people were there. And I went live and it's like, where were these people yesterday?
So we're going to do the best we can to make sure that it's Altadena. Doesn't matter what part of Altadena, as long as you're Altadena, doesn't matter anything else. We're a diverse community. We want everybody there to have a day of thanks together. This is the Saturday prior to Thanksgiving. And so we are in the planning stages already. We do want sponsors. So any of you all that want to help donate to the event, and it will be our goal and our desire is to give gift cards to families so that for the next week at Thanksgiving, they can use that gift card to purchase their meals for Thanksgiving. Exactly. So we would like to be able to give away, 1,000 plus gift cards, 2,000 maybe, or whatever. So everyone that comes to the meals, but also maybe just have an area where we can do that. So we're in the planning stages, but we'll be talking about that more in the weeks to come. And I'm going to shut my mouth. It is 1 hour and 7 minutes in, and we don't even have our announcements done. So I'm going to give it to Jamal for that.
Well, just to let you guys know, if you watch to the end of this right now so far, you will catch these gems. If you don't watch, you won't know. If you don't watch the show, you never know.
I have to do like this because when I smile, my eyes always close. So I have to go.
I gotta find this one thing real quick. Sorry.
See how they just close?
I'm the king of faces, though.
Where is it?
No, I can't do that because Jamal will start screenshotting.
I don't know what you're talking about, man. Wait. Before I do that, no, I'll do this later. Okay.
No, go ahead.
No, I'm gonna do it later.
And we don't have a Thursday Toni Talk show because Thursday I will be on assignment, as the gentlemen call it. I have to speak at USC at 10:45, but I also have to be in LA at 10 a.m. because my aunt is having a street named after her. She's former U.S. Ambassador, U.S. Congresswoman, and State Senator Diane Watson. So they're naming Coliseum Place and Victoria on that corner after her. And that's going to be, the city council is going to be doing that at 10. So I'll probably be at that event for 10 minutes and then I got to skedaddle over to SC. So I will be out Thursday. But the gentleman.
I may have a guest on Thursday. I already talked to you about it. So.
Okay.
My good friend that let me borrow his bike. You remember that?
We'll talk after the show. Yeah. We'll chat after the show. So I don't know if we're having announcements today. It looks like there's technical difficulties. And if we don't, it's all good.
Jamal, you're muted. You're muted.
Yes, we are having the thingy majiggers.
How you thought?
No, I'm just trying to remove some of the banners so I can make sure everything can be seen.
Oh yeah.
So here we go. I'm gonna start from the beginning, like we used to. The Altadena Community Center is serving as the survivor support location. They're open Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and are located at 730 East Altadena Drive in Altadena. There are several different departments and services that are available. If you're interested in finding out who's going to be there, please call 626-398-6174 or scan the QR code. As you see on the right, FEMA's no longer there, but they still can be contacted if you need help. You can reach them at disasterassistance.gov. And then we have the One-Stop Permit Center located at 464 West Woodbury Road, Suite 210, with walk-in hours Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 4:30. You can also set up appointments for rebuild consultation. Those are available Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 8:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m., as well as Saturdays from 8 a.m. to noon. You can also set up appointment with Southern California Edison Planner, and those are available Mondays and Wednesdays from 8 a.m. to noon. But to set up the appointment, you do have to go to the website, recovery.lacounty.gov/rebuilding/one-stop-permit-centers. And then for the fees, for the permit fees, LA County's waiving and or refunding the permit fees for homeowners rebuilding after the Eaton and Palisades fires. Basically, if homeowners have already paid their fees, they will be refunded. And if you have yet to pay your fees, you can have them waived. In order to qualify for this, you must demonstrate that you both owned and lived in your property prior to January 7th. In addition, there's only certain properties or projects that are eligible, one of which is the replacement of your single-family home destroyed by either of the fires, and it does include items such as garages, ADUs, pools, or other accessory structures. It does also include standalone ADUs, which are used for temporary occupancy during the rebuilding. Unfortunately, what's not eligible are commercial, rental, multifamily, or temporary housing projects, or any property that is not damaged by the fires. Now, in order to actually get the refund or the waiver, you do have to fill out a form, and you can get the form by scanning the QR code on the screen or going to recovery.lacounty.gov/fee-waivers-and-refunds. It is something that you can complete online, and once you've completed it and saved it, you can send it and submit it via email to recovery@planning.lacounty.gov, or you can print it out and submit it in person to the permit center, and only one form is needed to cover all departments. You still have CalAssist Mortgage Fund, which actually gives mortgage relief. It's 3 months of mortgage payments up to a maximum of $20,000. The funds do not have to be repaid, and it is free to apply. One thing to note is if you do qualify for the grant, you do not get the money. It is paid directly to your mortgage servicer. If you do want to apply, please prepare to bring your mortgage statements, your utility bills, your proof of income, your homeowner's insurance or FEMA claim, in addition to bank statements. For eligibility requirements, you do have to have had primary residence that was destroyed or considered uninhabitable due to qualified disaster from the 1st of January 2023 through the 8th of January of 2025, and that does include the Eaton or Palisades fire. You also have to have owned and occupied the home, and it can be up to 4 units, as well as meet the income limits of a combined amount of $140,700. To actually apply, please go to CalAssistMortgageFund.org. And if you need some help, you can call 1-800-501-0019 Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. to get that help. Or you can physically go to either the Altadena Community Center at 730 East Altadena Drive, or if you're closer to the LA location, you can go to the One Stop Rebuilding Center at 1828 Sawtell Boulevard, LA. And this way you can actually get some in-person application help. This is Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and is provided by Neighborhood Housing Services. Now, per the information that Sujeet was sharing with us, I got this directly from the county. It's free, obviously testing for lead, but one of the other things that it talks about is, and I'll bring the other flyer that I used to bring up before, is the Eaton Health Village to actually get blood testing to see if you actually have any lead. But it's residents who are near the wildfire or burn areas are able to receive free blood testing through December of 2025 by the following two options. You either visit your medical provider and ask your doctor for a blood lead test. Testing is covered by most insurance plans, including Medi-Cal, or the other option is to schedule a free blood test, free blood lead test at Quest Labs. You can call 1-800-LA4 lead, LEAD, or the actual telephone number is 1-800-524-5323. And when you call that, you can request a free appointment. Testing is simple, it's confidential, and convenient. And the Department of Public Health also has those free soil testing programs for residents living downwind of the Eaton Fire burn area. So in addition to what Sujeet and the USC program is doing, you could also go to the ph.laccounty.gov/Eaton-soil-testing. And for more information, you can go to LA County Public Health. Now, every Monday and Tuesday, put on by Project Passion, they actually have a Freedom Store located at Harambe, which is at 1609 Navarro in Pasadena. It is set up by appointments only, and you do have to scan the QR code or go to the tinyurl.com/Harambe Freedom Store to register. And you can actually get a few items such as toiletries, home essentials, and apparently they have quite a bit more available. So definitely check that out. It is from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. every Monday and Tuesday until they decide to stop. Altadena Tenants Union is having a general meeting for current or displaced Altadena tenants only. So if you didn't own your home and you are a renter, this would be for you. This is tonight, the 26th from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. the Altadena Main Library at 600 East Mariposa. Then LA Fire Justice. Oops, I forgot to add this other slide because I do have something going on tonight. But they have regularly scheduled events. So every Thursday morning from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m., LA Fire Justice at their office, they have coffee chat where individuals can come out and talk about what's going on with them with the rebuild and talk to the LA Fire Justice folks. This is located at 221 East Walnut Street, Suite 100 in Pasadena. And then that afternoon from 12 to 1 p.m. at Pinocchio's Pizza, you can actually talk if you have a business and also discuss what's going on with you. And Pinocchio's Pizza is located at 1449 North Lake Avenue in Pasadena. And then lastly, every first Monday of every month from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. Also at the LA Fire Justice Office, they have Mental Health Monday, where they have several folks you can discuss your mental health with. And then this Thursday at the Paseo, there is the Paseo Soul to Soul Solutions in association with Jazzy Jams for Empowerment. There's Jazz at the Paseo Summer Series. So this next installment will be this Thursday, the 28th. It'll go from 6:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. in the courtyard. It is a free event, and it's located at 300 East Colorado Boulevard in Pasadena. I'm hoping I'll be able to find the actual artists will be there this week, but I know that Toni has gone before, and it is a very nice event. So if you have some time and want to hear some good music, definitely check it out. Then we have the Altadena Community Giveaway. This is actually presented Saturday, August 30th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. It's provided by Connect to Rise Incorporated, and this will be located at 2594 East Colorado Boulevard in Pasadena. It's calling all Altadena residents to attend, and to register, please scan the QR code in order to register. And there's going to be a variety of clothing for men, women, and kids, in addition to socks and underwear, children's books, baby items, household cleaning, school supplies, and much, much more. And this is while supplies last. So if you're interested, get there early so you don't miss out. And then I have a better flyer for the Here Lay a Home exhibition, which began on the 25th of August and is going through the 28th of August. It is going to be at the Armory, or it is at the Armory Center for the Arts, located at 145 North Raymond Avenue in Pasadena. And the gallery hours are Friday from 2 to 6 p.m. and then Saturday through Sunday from 1 to 5. So it looks like they're only open those 3 days. So definitely check them out. It looks like on Thursdays it's by appointment only, so contact the Armory Center if you want to have a private appointment. And then there is a Neighborhood Home Services and Restore the Legacy LA Coalition for Rebuild and Recovery workshops. There is the Legacy Summit, and there's going to be several locations on different days. So at First Church of Nazarene, located at 3700 East Sierra Madre Boulevard in Pasadena, from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. That'll be Saturday, September 6th and October 4th. The other locations will be Saturday, December 13th at Pasadena Presbyterian Church from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. This church is located at 585 East Colorado Boulevard in Pasadena. And then another location will be at the Center of Hope. And this is on Saturday, November 1st. It'll be from 10 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. And it includes rebuild and recovery workshops located at 9550 Crenshaw Boulevard in Inglewood. So what they're going to be providing, some of the things, is interim housing support, NHS grants and Calasis mortgage grant program, low-cost construction project management, technical support to select a general contractor or architect, mission-driven real estate services on how to buy, sell, or rebuild, as well as estate planning and legal services at no charge. If you go to the nhslacounty.org website, you can actually go to the event section and sign up for this event there. And that's it for today. We'll get some more information later on this week. Thank you for tuning in for that information. And thank you very much. I turn it back over to Toni and Brian.
It was a long show. I have nothing other than toodles. And we'll see you tomorrow for Way Back Wednesday.
Well, all right then.
Yeah,
I say
got
peace.
to come up with a good topic for that. We're talking about old restaurants. How about that?
Hey, does anybody have any other ideas too? Because we can talk about that and anything else that people want to talk about.
Audience, this is an audience participation show. Also, if you would like to be on the show as an Altadena resident to talk about your experience with going through the toxic removal, the debris removal, the permit experience, please. This show is called AltadenaTalks. It's not called Brian, Toni, and Jamal Talk all the time. That's not what it's called.
Well, mine is Toni Talks, so no.
I said yours is Toni Talks. That's a whole different segment.
I'm just kidding.
Altadena, come and talk.
Everyone come and talk. So thank you, Extreme Weather Survivors. I see Sharia Moore, the old games we made up and played outside. Yeah.
Like treetops on marbles when I used to take everybody marbles at school.
Don't know what that is. But anyway, you be coming up with all kinds of stuff. And had to because look, our parents were like, goodbye, go outside. You want some water? Turn the hose on. Do not come back in this house because you're not letting the air out, or even if the fans were on, the air conditioner wasn't on. You're not running in and out. Remember how we
I'm running my door.
Oh yeah, I used to hate that. Either stay outside or stay inside.
Oh, no.
Going back and forth.
We had a deadbolt with a double key, and if you kept running in and out of the house, you just locked the door.
You got locked out?
No, I'd rather be locked out. I don't want to be locked in. Because guess what I got to do when I'm locked in?
Chores.
No. got to watch the stories.
Oh, Lord.
Young and the Restless, General Hospital. I don't want to watch that junk.
Yeah,
Trying to get
I didn't have to
outside.
go through that.
Woo.
I told y'all my thing with yours. I wasn't about to get up at 7:00 on a Saturday and do nothing, so I did mine on
Oh
Friday
no!
night.
So
I was
my
up
mom,
till 3 in the morning.
my mom is about to.
You're good.
I'm about to expose something that my mom never knew about me.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, definitely. I'm saying toodles. We're an hour and a half in. I will see y'all tomorrow. I got a bunch of stuff I got to do. I got to head to LA in about 30 minutes.
All
So
right.
I need to do some work before I do that. So I gotta say toodles. Sorry. But please be kind. Don't be exposing your mama too much when she's already watching. When she stopped watching Tubi to watch the show.
You know what? You're projecting. You don't
Be
even know what I'm
kind.
about to say. You don't even know what I'm about to say. See, there you go.
You prefaced it. You said I'm about to expose my mama for something. I was like,
Yeah, it's going to be a good thing. It ain't nothing bad.
What was
Don't
it?
assume. Don't assume. So, my mom would have certain music she would play when she wants us to get up.
Peanuts.
Oh, yeah.
Saturday.
Yeah, that's the chore music. Yeah.
So if she played opera, she was pissed off. I would hop out the window and ride my bike and be gone. But if she played Marvin Gaye, I would be the first one up to clean because I knew we were going to Steak Corral afterwards. And my brother and sister would wonder, how do you know when she's not doing anything with us? I said, because you got to pay attention to these things. It's called intuition. I would make up all this stuff, not knowing that I paid attention to her music selection as soon as she got up.
Good job.
So, Mom, I just busted myself. I knew your secret. And that's all I had to say. That wasn't bad, was it?
No,
It was
not
horrible. It was terrible.
Don't say I'm gonna put her on blast next time. You could just say
but that's what you do. You create the sensationalism and you come back with the calm.
Anywho, toodles,
Y'all know how I do. Y'all know how I do.
Thank you for watching again. I hope it was beneficial having Sujeet on about the soil. Please test your soil. Make sure you're good.
Yes.
And have a great Tuesday.
Yeah, take care of yourselves, everybody. Have a wonderful day. See you mañana.
Toodles.
See you.